through all this, because no one wants it more than him to be out there to fight with his teammates. So we'll keep an eye on that. And again, it's this bye is coming at a good time for us. We're a little bit beat up right now, so we need to be able to get some guys back and get healthy.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, what can you do to make sure that this bye doesn't send your guys into a funk? You haven't won a game in a month.
Yeah.
I know you're positive, but how do you stay positive?
Yeah, no, just by just persistence over resistance. You know, we had some guys break it down in the locker room at the end of the game there, and I was impressed with what they had to say. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it goes to show the character that we're fighters. And as hard as it is, and as frustrating, and like you said, you haven't won in a month. You know, we got to just keep using that persistence over resistance and just keep fighting and keep staying together. And eventually something here, you know, will hopefully change. And I think that's where we got to believe and trust and keep playing for each other.
Dan Wiederer.
See, the Bears offense, it was, I mean, the best offense they had was the Mack pick and a kick return for a touchdown. Less than 150 yards of offense in the game. 2 of 11 on third down. It's been a struggle. I mean, we had the Monday night game against the Rams. They entered at 5-1. They haven't won since. Quarterback gets injured, and as Coach Nagy just says, the bye arrives at a good time. They got a lot that they 15-ish, and I'm not tired yet. Live reaction from Soldier Field on the way. Some late-breaking developments out of the NBA draft coming up this week. Woj standing by with that, and the MAC, as always, shining bright. In this particular edition of SportsCenter, it happens to be in Bad Beats. We get right to the Monday night game. Bears have lost 3 in a row, hosting a division rival Vikings, who started off with a miserable 1-5 beginning. Speaking of miserable, Kirk Cousins 0-9 on Monday Night Football, longest streak by a quarterback in Monday night history. And Thielen, with a nod to the late great Alex Trebek with his pregame cleats. First quarter. Who is Adam Thielen? The question is, who scored the touchdown, Steve? See what we did there, a little Trebek. And what a grab this is. One-handed and spins it on the way down. Thielen's first touchdown against the Bears since December of 2014. Vikings lead early by 7. Dalvin Cook only 86 yards on 34 carries in 3 career games against the Bears. They do that to a lot of the best in the NFL. And Cook, 32 on 14 in the first half, just 2.3 yards per rush. This guy has been feasting since he came back from injury. The Vikings have to come up with some different answers. It's 7-3, and Thielen, I think, saw Khalil Mack and took his eye off the ball. I understand why, and basically just ends up handing it to Mack, and this is the best offense for the Bears in the first half. Thielen, I got it. No, 52, please don't truck me, and he can say I took my eye off the ball. Vikings had a 7-6 lead at the half. Vikings got the ball back and did nothing with it before the first half. Had 52 seconds, a couple timeouts. They're like, nah, we're good. Then they kick it in the second half to that guy, Cordero Patterson, and he's gone. So they got super conservative before the end of the half. Then they kick it off to start the second half, and the Bears, Coach Nagy, are fired up. Cordero Patterson, peace, see you later. 8th career kickoff return for a touchdown, tied for the most in NFL history with Josh Cribbs and Leon Washington. Like Zimmer, not thrilled with his special teams coordinator, Marwan Malouf. And Chicago now leads 13-7. Vikings can't do anything with it, but then they punt it. Dwayne Harris muffs it, and the Vikings pounce on it. Coach Zimmer, give your special teams guys some love. Hey, we got the ball back, Coach, huh? How about that? Vikings kick a field goal. It's 13-10. They've tied it at 13. Cook loses it. He was down in pain, and I mean, there's no cute way to say it. He fell on the ball in a very painful place to fall on the ball.
Did return.
Cousins, 1st and 20. Kyle Rudolph, the Domer, Chicagoland, picks up the first down. Justin Jefferson, the rookie, continuing to show out. His 4th game with 100 or more receiving yards, tying Randy Moss for the most by a Vikings rookie. But down there close, 3rd and 4. Who is it? It's Thielen. Again, he's got 9 touchdowns. He's tied for the lead among all NFL receivers. They missed the extra point, though, so the Bears are still kind of hanging around. 4th and 9, they decide to go for it, and Foles looking for Anthony Miller, and just out of the reach of Miller. Aggressive play call, and it just comes up inch or two too far for Miller. 2nd and 6. Really good play call here because you got a chance to potentially exhaust the clock if you can get first downs, make Chicago use their timeouts. Cousins hits Rudolph, and he is fired up. Later in the drive, Chicago's out of timeout, so obviously you just run it, bleed as much of the clock as you can, and the Bears get the ball back. About 45 seconds left. Foles, that O-line for the Bears is a mess. He's under great duress and goes down hard, and immediately you can see he's in pain. And Steve, as we were watching to a naked eye, could have been anything. Could have been his shoulder. We immediately saw him go for his hip. Appeared to be grabbing at that right hip. Needed to be carted off. Brutal, brutal thing to see for Foles in what's been an incredibly difficult year behind an O-line that just cannot. Minnesota starts, and they're lousy. They're 1-5, losing at home, and looks a mess, right? And now you got 3 games coming up against Dallas, Carolina, Jacksonville, all at home. They should be favored in all of those. The AFC is far more crowded than the NFC. Lewis, I'll start with you. How likely is it Minnesota throws their hat in the ring and becomes a possible playoff team?
Well, as long as they win the games that they're technically supposed to win and continue to play to this formula, protect the football at all costs, be good on 3rd down, be good in the red area. Those were the things that they did tonight. That's what contributed to a win. If they can do those things, that'll win you a lot of games in the NFL, Scotty. So I think if they can continue to be that type of football team, then they have as good a shot as anyone.
I think the most encouraging thing to come out of tonight was they didn't have their fastball. They didn't have the running game as they've had it in the past 2 games with Dalvin Cook, and they still found a way to win. And I think after those 3 weeks, let's say they do win the games they're supposed to win, they'd be 7-5. And then they play the Bucs and the Saints in a course of 3 weeks, right? Yep. They're gonna, if they get to the playoffs, they're gonna earn it.
Fair enough, and they should. You shouldn't. It's not given anybody in the NFL, as you gentlemen well know. And Brian, as a quarterback, you know what it is. Whether it's fair or not, you win the wins and losses. Those are attached to you. And as you guys talk to Kirk Cousins, I think, and look, I watched him play for Washington. A lot of those primetime losses are put to him, not necessarily on him. But I just wonder, as you talk to him in a moment of just, guys sitting around BSing, how much a win like this against Chicago means to just say enough with this 0-9 bit.
Yeah, enough is enough, right? And I think you saw the emotion when they got that first down and they kind of sealed it, that emotion comes out. And we've seen that from him from time to time. And there's no question, right? It's in the back of your mind. Every single time you play in prime time, they're going to say it. They said it about him not winning the big game until he won that playoff game a couple of years back. So I think he's in a great spot. I think mentally he's in a good spot. And I think he's with the Minnesota Vikings. He has a team that supports him and it surrounds him with the talent he needs to be effective.
I think we've known forever that quarterbacks get too much blame, they get too much credit. Yep. And Kirk knows that. He has tremendous self-awareness. He understands what lens people view his career through, and they view it through wins or losses in big moments. And although he says, it doesn't bother me, I kind of just play the game, of course you think about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have the reaction that he had at the end of this football game. He knew how big it was. He knew what it means for them setting up down the road over the next 3 weeks. The thing about the Vikings that you have to like, though, is this. Mike Zimmer knows exactly what he wants to be as a team, and he has his team play that way, good or bad. So we know what we're going to get from the Vikings going forward. We'll see how it plays out.
All right, let's close with Chicago. And gentlemen, we talked after that Rams game, and I think we all understood 5-1 from the Bears was a bit of smoke and mirrors. And we've seen since that Rams game, they've not won. And the same problems that plagued that offense when we talked after that Rams game continued to be evident. And I just don't know, and you alluded to it, Lewis, during the game, that these aren't problems that are fixed during the season. So understanding that, how do you go forth, and what do you do if you're the Bears?
Look, it's going to start with Matt Nagy, the head coach. He's going to have to somehow find a way to keep his players engaged on the defensive side in particular, and find a way to continue to grind on offense and try to find solutions that allow them to have chances to win football games. As bad as their output was tonight, they had a chance to win this football game if Nick Foles hits Anthony Miller down the middle of the football field. And if they throw that and they win this football game, we're going, man, that's an ugly win. But you know what? Wins are wins, right? So But it's hard to pick your football team off with losing a game like this when you meet with them on Tuesday tomorrow and go, or Wednesday, since this is a short week for them, and get them ready to go once again. That's tough. That calls on your professionalism, and hopefully they have enough of them in that locker room to keep them going.
They had 2 turnovers in the game. They returned a kick for a touchdown. They completely dominated special teams and on defense, and they still didn't win.